Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was full of amazing characters who were all written to perfection. And while I've analyzed some of these characters in the past, one that I never got around to was Kitty Softpaws. In this film, she perfectly fulfilled her role of being a love interest for Puss, while also being an extremely likable and compelling character. And today, we're going to talk about why that is the case. You all know the drill. I'm going to be breaking down my analysis into two different categories: three-dimensionality and catalyst for growth. But before we break everything down, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know who your favorite character from this movie was. Okay, without any further ado, let's break down why Kitty Softpaws is a perfect love interest. Oftentimes in mainstream movies, the love interest for the main character will usually fall into a cliched, formulaic character type that is not complex and almost solely exists as some sort of prize for the protagonist to win by the end of the movie. Some examples of this could be Roxanne from the Goofy movie, the prince from the original Cinderella, almost any old-timey James Bond girl, and so many more. The inherent flaw with all of these characters that I just mentioned is that they are essentially plot devices, an object of motivation for the hero to obtain at the end of the film as some sort of symbol of success. However, Kitty Softpaws is far from that, and one of the key reasons for that is because she is written as a three-dimensional character. Now, I'm sure most of you know what I mean by that, but just in case there's anyone in the audience here who has no idea what I mean when I say three-dimensional character, I'll go ahead and give a brief description of 2D and 3D characters. A two-dimensional character is basically a character that is very shallow and empty aside from their defining characteristics. Most of the time, these characters are intentionally shallow because their sole purpose in a film is to be used as a plot device, such as the tough henchman guy who never says anything and is good at fighting and is tough just because that's what the film needs him to be, and outside of that, he doesn't really have any character. Or a smart scientist guy who makes some sort of invention that everyone in the movie is after, and his only defining characteristic is that he is really smart, and his only reason for existing in the movie is so that this device he has created can be made and be an object that is pursued by other characters in the film. On the other hand, a three-dimensional character is a character that has depth to their personality, is much more complicated than their defining traits, and will usually have a character arc. And Kitty Softpaws is all of these things. If she were written as a 2D love interest for Puss to win over in the movie, Kitty would have been reduced to her most extreme elements, such as being a good thief and being a former lover to Puss. But anyone who has watched the movie can tell you that she is definitely not written in that way. Kitty has a character arc. She starts out untrusting, isolated from others, but slowly, as the movie progresses, she begins to learn to love and trust again, allowing others like Puss and Perrito to get close to her until she ultimately comes to realize, just like the rest of the characters pursuing the wish, that she doesn't actually need it. She already has what she wanted. But it's not just the basic character arc that makes her a three-dimensional character. There is also tons of depth to her personality. The reason she is so lacking in trust is because she did trust someone once, Puss, and he betrayed her trust. Her character flaw stems out of a realistic motivation. She was so hurt by those who she trusted that she decided it was better to never be vulnerable with anyone again rather than to go through that kind of pain another time. That's meaty. That's interesting and tragic and realistic and complex. That's an example of depth to her character. Another example of Kitty not just being a plot device, but being a complex character is the way she interacts differently with characters like Puss in distinct ways depending on the context and situation. She's got a love-hate relationship with Puss, and it shows through the way she interacts with him. There's times where she'll be cute and flirty with him, but other times where she'll be sour and sore towards him, which happens because her relationship with Puss is complicated. If Kitty was a two-dimensional character, she would act basically the same way towards Puss for the whole movie, with much less nuance to their interactions. If she was just a prize for Puss to win over, like plenty of romantic interests are, then she would have most likely been stagnant, annoyed, and indifferent to Puss until the end of the movie when he earns her love. But instead, she has a realistic personality, mixed emotions towards someone who she has so many feelings towards, and that that makes her interactions with Puss not cliched or formulaic. One of the main traits of an effective love interest is to stimulate positive change in the main character. They shouldn't just be an object or plot device used to motivate the character to make a change or choose a quest. Rather, an effective love interest will meaningfully interact with the protagonist, and through their relationship, the main character will learn to become a better person. Kitty Softpaws does this to a nearly flawless degree, so let's analyze how she is able to help aid Puss along his journey to becoming selfless and content with the one life that he has. When Kitty and Puss first meet in the film, Puss is still more or less the same, after the wish for his own selfish reasons, attempting to gain his 9 lives back so he can be fearless and praised as a legend. After their first encounter, Puss is still attempting to regain the wish for his own benefit, but he allows Kitty to travel with him and the two begin to rekindle their old romantic flame. It is because Puss genuinely loves Kitty that he feels so bad about how he left her, and rather than come clean to her about his reasons for doing so, he fed into his own ego and made himself into a legend that was so big there was no room for anyone else. This is one of the first points where Kitty helps to stimulate positive growth in Puss. After talking with Perrito, Puss apologizes to Kitty, and her acceptance of that apology and the acceptance of the new leaf Puss is starting to turn over not only makes her grow closer to him, but also causes Puss to grow as a person. The scene on the treetops is a great example of how to have your love interest spur growth in your film's protagonist, while also having the two characters bond in a fun and engaging way. But perhaps the most clear and significant way that Kitty helped Puss change for the better can be seen towards the end of the film during Puss's fight with the wolf. As Death mocks Puss with the same question he asked him during their last encounter, we see Puss react to it differently. He's not reflecting on all his past lives where he lived adventurously as a legend, but is instead reflecting on this last life he has lived, because the friends and moments he shared with them became his new most valuable memories. Very telling is the fact that the last shot is the one where Puss and Kitty's hands are touching each other, conveying to the audience that this moment in particular is one that Puss values the most, the moment where he reconnected with his lost love, Kitty. All of these lessons and experiences help Puss to change his perspective on life and confidently face and overcome the wolf. But the most significant of these is his time spent with Kitty. Her taking him back after their past struggle and the way the two begin to fall in love again is the biggest factor in Puss growing as a person and valuing his last life. Because now, with Kitty in his life again, he has something very meaningful to live for: love. This is how you do a love interest. Don't have the main character's desire for them drive them to make superficial and cliched changes loosely tied to the love interest, but instead have the love interest be involved with and be responsible for important plot points where the protagonist changes for the better in realistic and meaningful ways. Kitty Softpaws is a brilliant example of how they do the love interest right, and is just another cog in the masterpiece that is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It's been a while since I have done a video on this movie, but it definitely still has more characters and scenes that deserve to get covered, so I definitely plan on making more videos in the future talking about this film, specifically how the final fight against the wolf and the whole build up into it is a perfect climax to a movie. If you want to catch that video when it drops, then make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to stay notified for whenever I drop a new video. If you enjoyed this character study, then you would probably enjoy the other character studies I've done on the wolf, Perrito, Jack Horner, and more. So check out the character studies playlist on my channel, and if you did love the video, then please leave a like and drop a comment letting me know what you thought. I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great day.